Robin. I now call on Minister Harris to round off the debate. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gael, and I'm very pleased to be here today to have an opportunity to discuss the Stability Programme update. And I'd like to thank deputies from all sides of this House who contributed to the debate this morning and into this afternoon. I want to, I suppose, pick up on a point Deputy MacDonald raised in relation to her concern about a point being made by Minister Bruton. And if I could attempt to reiterate the point he was making, I think it is an important point, is that nobody in this House has a monopoly of concern for the well-being of the Irish people. And I think if we are to talk, and there's a lot of talk about new politics, well, I think the first way we could approach new politics is if we were to each begin by accepting each other's bona fides. Everybody in this House, I genuinely believe everybody in this House wants to see our housing crisis tackled. Everybody in this House wants to see people have jobs and wants to see mortgage arrears tackled. Everybody in this House wants to see the benefits of economic recovery shared. Now, we will debate vociferously and rigorously in terms of how best to do that. But that's the point Minister Bruton is making. I think it's a point we should all accept as we embark on this 32nd Dáil. I think it's also important to accept and acknowledge what this Stability Programme update is and what it isn't. What it is a technical document. It's a technical document that we're legally required to submit to Europe. In fact, in some ways it's great that we're in a position to have to submit it, because obviously when we were a programme country we weren't required to submit it. So the fact that we are submitting it is a sign of the economic progress that this country is making. It is not a budget. It is not a spring economic statement. They will be matters for the incoming government, and I echo the comments of the Taoiseach and others that I hope that incoming government can be put in place shortly, so we can put in place the policy measures that deputies have rightly referred to, and the policy measures that one would expect to see in a spring economic statement and indeed in a budget, because policy matters and we need to get into the meat of those discussions. I think we've seen that the figures show very clearly in this Stability Programme update the great economic progress that has been made, and I think there's a recognition from all sides that progress has been made. The challenge of this Dáil and the challenge of the incoming government is to make that recovery felt in every home, in every community and in every part of this country. And if I picked up a message during the general election campaign, I'm sure it's a message that we all picked up, which is that people realise there's an economic recovery, but people need to see and feel that in their own family and in their own lives. And that is our collective challenge, and indeed a particular challenge for the new incoming government. So we've already talked about and you've heard my colleagues, Ministers Noonan and Minister Howland, talk about the statistics in this document. And they're not our statistics, they are the facts. This isn't just how we tell our story to the world, as some asserted. This is the truth. These are the economic positions that our country finds itself in, and these are figures endorsed by the Independent Fiscal Advisory Council. But I do think it's important to say, and I want to put on the record of this House, that economic recovery hasn't come about without significant sacrifice and indeed pain from the Irish people. And I've picked that up from a number of deputies in this House, and it's a point worth making. Economic recovery was not easy. It was not easy on people. It hurt people. It caused people pain. People had to make sacrifices. And we don't need to be patted on the head by various economic institutions or European authorities and told we're great boys and girls. It was painful. And our challenge now, though, is to make sure the hard-won fruits of that process, of those structural reforms, of the efforts of the last government, supported by the Irish people, is felt by every family. I think it is important, though, to acknowledge that the recovery, thankfully, has been jobs-rich, and that is beginning to make a real impact in people's lives. How do you make sure economic recovery is felt? Well, through employment. And we have seen, obviously, an additional 140,000 people in work in Ireland since the launch of the Government's Action Plan for Jobs initiative in early 2012. And I really hope the incoming government continues that mechanism of an action plan for jobs, and, taking up Deputy Calleary's points, acknowledges the need to spread that to all parts of the country through the new regional action plan for jobs. I take the point that Deputy Tobin made in relation to corporation tax, and I know this is an issue you raise, and I accept your bona fides on it too. But we have obviously seen the Chairman of the Revenue Commissioners, in a letter to the Minister for Finance published on the Department of Finance website, acknowledge that these are not seen as cyclical, that this is seen as a sustainable situation. And that's something, though, you're right, this House and any new committee needs to monitor carefully. The debate now, though, is going to move, and this is a real test of new politics. New politics can't just be a buzzword. It's going to move to choices. It's going to move to a new budget committee. It's going to involve people from this House debating how we want to spend the limited, or be they extra resources available to us. And that's not what the SPU is about. The SPU is about the facts. The next phase of this debate is about the policy. And that's a debate I really hope we can get to very quickly. And the very final point I want to make, Gael, we're not balancing the books for the sake of it. Balancing the books isn't something you do for the fun of it. It's not something you do to have a bit of crack. You're balancing the books so that you have the resources, if there are external shocks like Brexit or anything else, to continue to provide the services, the state pension, the minimum wage, the extra investment in the services that we need. So balancing the books and being concerned with debt to GDP ratios isn't something that should be just dismissed as that's something that government care about, that's something that the civil servants care about. It's something that matters to the working class people, as Deputy MacDonald likes to put it, and the people she wishes to represent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Harris. That concludes statements on Ireland's Stability Programme update of April 2016.